Hello, welcome back. Today's a short one. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about basic D&D, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. This is really me leading into something else, a discussion which really isn't its own thing, so I'm going to make it its own separate thing. This is going to be a bit different. I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll. Also, too, I'm going to make it clear. I'm going to sort of lead you down part of my journey with playing Dungeons and Dragons. So there's a little bit of history. Not a lot. I'm not going to give you everything, but I'm going to give you some of it. So grab some food, some drink. Make sure you're comfortable and be prepared because I have some things to say. Let's get started, shall we? Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I don't want to talk about Deadpool. No, I want to talk about returning to basic BECMI Dungeons and Dragons. And that's a little odd because, to be fair and honest, I never started with BECMI basic D&D. Basic D&D is not where I started. So why have I put in the title Returning to Basic BECMI Dungeons and Dragons? Well, let me explain and give you some context. Basic D&D, which is the red box, I don't have that. I have a digital copy. I never purchased it. I never encountered it. I never knew it existed when I was growing up. I now have this book, okay, which is the Rules Encyclopedia, which is basically a collection of the basic rules. Okay, and this rule system was running essentially at the same time as Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But I only knew about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't know about First Ed Edition because when I was growing up, never heard of it, never saw a store. The first game I ever played was this. I'm going to be completely honest. This is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Ed Edition. And Second Ed Edition, I never fully understood it. I think we used maybe one or two rules around leveling up and something else around spells or spell casting. The rest of it, I had no clue what was going on when I was playing this. And I was in my 20s, okay? I had this for years, I think maybe a decade before I finally tried playing the game. In the end, as it happens, I didn't realize it. I found out many years later, my first introduction to Dungeons and Dragons was not basic D&D. It wasn't a D&D. It was actually a board game based off Dungeons and Dragons called Hero Quest. I didn't realize that until in the last couple of years when I did a bit more research about the origins of Hero Quest and how it looked. I played this with my family all the time. You couldn't say this is necessarily the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons, could you? So why the hell do I say returning to? When it came to playing Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop role-playing game, I would say this is the first time I really played, I guess, proper Dungeons and Dragons, a tabletop role-playing game. It's 3.5. I'm 52. I'm going to be 53 this year. This was probably the first time I really played the tabletop role-playing game properly. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, really. I needed somebody else to teach me all the rules, and I did that sort of in my late 20s. What happened is, somehow by just a miracle and circumstances, and doing this channel, I met a guy called Wally DM. And Wally DM is the one who introduced me to basic D&D. Because one of the interesting things that I was unaware of is that was the first game he played. That's the first version of Dungeons and Dragons. So he sent me this book, I believe this year, or was it last year? I can't remember. But he's the one who sent me this book since I didn't have the rules. And I appreciate it. And I've done some videos on the rules and character building for it. And then things sort of stopped and got quiet on my channel, you might have noticed. And you probably were wondering, is Fred ever going to do any more basic D&D stuff? And the reality is, yes, but not quite the way you might expect. So I want to explain that a little bit to you. Because I've been introduced to the game by Wally, I now know basically how to play. I've got a better idea of how to dungeon master that game, but I haven't dungeon mastered for that game. And I'm going to be playing today with Wally DM and AJ Pickett, also Mr. Welsh and Ryan Doyle. I'm going to be playing with Ryan Doyle today as well. So that's going to be happening probably in the next hour or so, just under an hour. So this is what is going on in my head. I want to come back to this, and I want to explain why I want to come back to this. I plan to play this game a lot more. I'm not planning to play a lot more Shadow Dark, although I would like to. And I'm sure we'll see Shadow Dark, Kelsey's game on my channel again. I plan to play a lot more of it with my buddies, Wally, AJ Pickett, and Glenn, frankly, and whoever else I can drag along with me. So we're going to do a lot of that probably in the next couple of months. And I suspect we might wind up doing that into the next year and maybe continuing on. The interesting thing is, too, what I discovered is because Wally didn't just introduce me to basic D&D and how to play it, he introduced AJ Pickett. Now, AJ Pickett, would you believe it, bought the box but never played the game. Never dungeon mastered, never really played that game. It was actually Wally DM who's introduced him to basic D&D, actually playing the game. So now what is AJ doing? AJ is running his own BECMI game. He's going to run it apparently from level 1 through as high as he possibly can. So he's going to probably have to use some of the other boxes that aren't the basic game. So he's actually planning to do that himself. So he's had an effect. So the game itself has had an effect on me. I still want to keep playing the game. And so does AJ Pickett. Now, is that because we're old? I don't know. The interesting thing that I find about all of this is I'm not drawn to playing old school essentials or necessarily playing dungeon crawl classics. I'm not saying these are bad games. But there's something about this game that is odd. It's kind of strange. It's probably the simplest version of Dungeons and Dragons I've ever played. And I've played now version 3, 4, 5, Pathfinder, and Basic. And I've never really properly played AD&D. First Ed Edition or Second Ed Edition. It is probably the simplest version of the game. One of the first things I've discovered is I want to keep talking about this game. I'm going to do rules demonstrations on the game. As I get better and I feel more familiar, I'll go back to doing that again. I'm definitely going to have that happen. But one of the really peculiar things about this game is even though it is the simplest version of the game, it has the strangest collection of core rules. And let me describe, and I'm sure some of you who are watching will understand what I'm talking about. It is so bizarre how this works because you have, I think there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 different mechanics for this game. They all work slightly different in different ways. And rather than demonstrate it, I'm just going to explain it. You have the ability check. You don't really have skill checks in basic D&D. You have the ability check where you roll a 20-sided dice. And you know the funny thing is, when you roll that dice, you have to get equal to or less than, not equal to or greater than. You have to get equal to or less than the ability score on your character sheet. So when you determine when the dungeon master says you're going to be using skill or dexterity and you do an ability check, you're rolling against your own ability score. You know how people used to say, what is the point in having ability scores on the character sheet? It goes back to basic D&D because that's the number you would use. Now, the dungeon master could adjust your put in a modifier of +1, +2, -1, -2, or whatever they wanted, really, to your ability score, but that was the target number. That was the DC. This is why ability scores were important. So that's roll equal to or less than. That's one mechanic. That's a core mechanic of the game. Core mechanic. Okay? And then I come across another rule. And it's different again. The saving throw. The saving throw is, again, it's a dice roll. And you roll a 20-sided dice. And you calculate basically, depending on what class you're playing, determines, and what level you are, determines what your saving throws are. You just write them in. Your ability scores don't actually affect or relate to your saving throws. You have your death ray saving throw, your poison saving throw, your magic wand saving throw, your paralysis, your turn to stone, dragon breath, your rods, staffs, and spells saving throw. They're all different numbers. And you roll a 20-sided dice. You don't add anything to it. Except for spells. Spell saving throw you do. You add your character's wisdom adjustment. It's not called a modifier. It's called an adjustment. But you know what's really weird? This time with the saving throw in basic D&D, you have to roll equal to whatever your saving throw number is, and it's a fixed number, usually. Fixed number. Yeah, it's a fixed number. Equal to or greater than. Not less than. Not equal to and less than. It's equal to or greater than, which is the complete reverse to the ability check. But we're not finished there. There's another 20-sided dice roll that you use when you're actually playing this game. And this is even, now you're like, why is Fred liking this game? This doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. Then I get to an attack roll. The attack roll is, when you make an attack, a melee attack, you're going to roll a 20-sided dice, and you're going to add your strength adjustment, which is kind of like your modifier, but it's not the same thing. Okay, it's a lot smaller, that number. Or if you make an unarmed strike or, hand-to-hand fighting, then, it's pretty much the same sort of thing. But, we'll get there. Ranged attacks, different again. But but you're dealing with basically, an attack bonus of some kind. And so you roll this, and then once you get the number and you add the bonus for your attack, whatever that might be, you then have to take that number and compare it to a chart, a 2-hit chart, to figure out which armor class you can hit. I'm not going to go into THAC0, because THAC0 is just a shortening of the concept of that table, really. Okay? So that's different again to the ability check and the saving throw. So there are literally 3 different mechanics just with the 20-sided dice with regard to do anything in basic D&D. Why the hell do I still like playing this game? Then we're not finished though, because I thought that was something. What if you're playing a cleric and you want to turn undead? Well, you don't use a 20-sided dice to turn the undead. No, you use 2 6-sided dice, and you add the value of the dice together, and you have to get equal to or greater than whatever the target number or value is for the specific undead you're trying to turn. Again, we're going equal to and greater than, but it's not even the 20-sided dice. We're using 6-sided dice now to turn the undead. And I still like playing this game. Then we have percentile dice. If you're a thief, okay, the idea is the bigger your percentile value for the skills that you have, and you have eight different skills. You can open locks, find traps, remove traps, climb walls, move silently, hide in the shadows, pickpockets, hear noise. These are things that really only thieves can do. And it's a percentage. So you're using percentile dice now. And the idea is that the bigger your percentage, the more chance you are going to succeed. So now when you're rolling your percentage dice, you compare it to your skill that you have, whatever it might be, open locks, find traps. You have to get equal to or less than Do you see how the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth? And yet I still like playing this game. So if you look at how that all works, this game here, Basic Dungeons and Dragons, an early version of the game, okay, this pretty much includes every single different dice mechanic you could have in different tabletop role-playing games that are modern. Like if you look at how that works, it almost has literally every single dice mechanic that would be applied to one game. But they're all in one. Like normally in a modern tabletop role-playing game, if you're going to roll a 20-sided dice, you're either rolling high or low with the 20-sided dice, not going back and forth. You would be consistent. And yet this game doesn't do that. We're not consistent. It's different depending on which roll you're making. If you were rolling 6-sided dice, okay, whatever you're doing, if you're rolling 6-sided dice, you'd roll either low or high, and the system would be based off that. And yet this has this system in here. If you were using percentile dice, okay, most of the time you would be trying to roll either lower rather than higher, but percentile dice, that mechanic would just be the only mechanic you would have in your tabletop role-playing game. If you're going to use to-hit chart tables, which I'm very familiar with from playing Warhammer 40,000, the tabletop war game, Warhammer 40,000, one of my favorite games to play for a while. Literally, that there is a to-hit table system. And it's all taken from tabletop wargaming, but I feel like it's taken from this game here. It's like basic D&D is like the sprout or seed for something that spawned a whole lot of different tabletop role-playing games. And I think that's part of the reason why I keep liking to like playing it. So even with those, essentially what I would say 4 or 5, let's say 5 different dice mechanics at their core, it's still simpler to play than modern Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion. Do you know why? Because characters are easy to run. They're not very complicated. They're very easy to understand. You don't have a character sheet with a lot of information on it. It's really simple to play the game. So all the complexity is in the core rules. And the complexity's been taken out of the character class. Because if you play a race, you're playing the class. Isn't it strange how things have worked? Now, what would happen if this game here just picked one core dice mechanic and did that for everything? Well, that's Shadow Dark, really, in most respects, except for the spellcasting check. Now, would I prefer that? Absolutely. Do I think that would be a good idea? Absolutely. But I think the experience of playing this game has opened my eyes to the fact that, do you know, what makes a really good tabletop role-playing game is not the rules, it's how you play the game. And the more rules you have, okay, the more rules you have literally is the constraint. This game here is like a straitjacket. This literally, when I looked the rules for this and I've played it before, it's like a straitjacket. Even 5e is like a straitjacket. 4e, I've played 4e, it's like a straitjacket. I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that it makes far more sense to me to play this game or to even play Hero Quest or even play Shadow Dark than to be playing Dungeons and Dragons 5e, Pathfinder. I get people sending me stuff about MCDM and Daggerheart. I'm sorry. If that's your thing, that's great. But they all seem to suffer from the same thing. Even DC-20 made by Alan. I haven't had the best interactions with Alan. But, but I wouldn't say it was my fault, okay, and it wasn't. But he's got a game system that uses a 4-action economy, which is a complete reverse to what I'm looking for. I find it weird that I'm in my 50s. I would be the generation that would be playing this game, but I'm finding this for the very first time, and it's so appealing to play. Every time I've tried to break Wally and try to apply this game and do something that is not written down, that is not formulated in some way with my character, I have literally had no problems continuing to play. There hasn't been an issue whatsoever. Me and Wally have said, look, we could easily replace this game with HowtoDandD because HowtoDandD seems to have so few rules. The number of rules that apply, it's consistent, and there's so few. But we still like playing this game. What does that mean? Does that honestly mean that is BECMI a game that has had its time and gone? Do you know what I think? I think there's a very good chance that BECMI might wind up having a resurgence. There are plenty of younger generation who are playing basic D&D, believe it or not, or some sort of clone of basic D&D or variation of that. There's a whole bunch of them. You may not know them specifically yourself, but they are out there. So I just wonder if, because I've been watching what's been going on my channel, I wonder if literally what we'll wind up seeing is something going on where this game is so cheap. It's so cheap. Buying a physical copy, this is not printed. This is print on demand. This book here is print on demand. Look how thick it is. Everything's in here. All the spells are in here. Okay? All the roles, all the classes, all that stuff is there. If you want to do anything whatsoever, even the information that the Dungeon Master needs, all the monsters, your monster manual is in this book. This is the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master Guide, and the Monster Manual, all in one. So this is why when I put a title up and I said, returning to basic BECMI Dungeons and Dragons, I really think you'll find that, one, this is easy to find. It's actually not that expensive. The artwork itself is not unappealing. Black and white inside, for sure. Black and white. But it's actually really cool. And I can do literally everything and anything I want. And I don't have to pick the specific class. Really, the class is the class. You know what the classes do. You pick a spellcaster, you pick a character that's not a spellcaster. You want to be a thief, roguey-like character, there's one for that. And then anything else, you don't need to worry about, a lot of stuff. You can do anything. Today, I'm going to be playing this game. We're going to go and kill the pastry man. Bargle, or is it Bagel? I like Bagel more than Bargle myself. I'm going to keep calling him Bagel. We're going to go and kill him today, hopefully, or it's, at least get closer to it. And I'm going to keep playing this game. I'm going to keep talking about this game on my channel. I'm probably going to do a review of the Rules Cyclopedia, and I expect more than likely that we'll see more people playing the game. Surprisingly, I think there's something to be had. I don't think it's just the game for. It was a game that we wanted to play years and years ago, and now it's had its time. I actually think it's probably. I feel like it's coming back. I get the distinct feeling. I could be wrong. It's possible that could happen. But I just wanted to say, yeah, I think it's coming back. And if it is, I want to be one of those people who helps do that. And people like BECMI Berserker, the Dungeon Minister, Wally and me have decided we're going to keep playing that game because we're having a ball. And I know there's a lot of other people on YouTube who talk about, basic D&D. Keep doing it. I think there's a sensible approach to this, is to get it out there, make people realise that actually you can get it digitally, cheap as chips, and if you want to print it out on a book, it ain't that hard either. It's pretty easy. So that's what I wanted to say today. Yeah, keep rolling those 20s, or those D6s, or those percentile dice, or roll high, low, or whatever the heck it is, because apparently that's how basic D&D works. You've got all the rolling systems all in one, and it's still simpler. Isn't that strange? Okay, so this was not pre-planned, people. Not really in terms of what I had to say. I just wanted to get it off my chest, and I want to see it this poll. I also want to explain to people, in about half an hour, I'm going to go and play with Wally, as I said, and AJ Pickett, and a bunch of other people. We're going to go and play this game because that would be fun. And I have every intentions of doing something goofy. And if I can get myself killed, I don't care. I'll do it. It's fine. It's all right with me. So yes, go and have a look. Drive Through RPG. There are lots of places you can access this documentation. It's out there. You can probably find a pirated copy as well. I wanted a big thank you to all of my subscribers and my patrons, and those of you who showed up today and were in the chat, like Jean, Bob, how's it going? I'm pretty sure Bob has a channel. Bob Gnarly's Painting. And then we've got Phil. I didn't realize Phil was going to be here. Ryan Andrews, hello, how are you? Agile Monk, hello, John, how are you doing? And I'm sure there's a few more of you. So, Nacho man, nice to have you. And I see Dungeon Minister was here, and DJ Loser as well. Pierre Sherman, Matthew, hello Matthew, how's it going? And Hypnotic, I think that's Hypnotic, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's what I'm supposed to say there. Anyway, come and join me in about half an hour. How's it going, Wally? How you doing? This is my way of leading people, Wally. This is literally, I did this half-hour live stream just to lead people to come and hang out with us to play this game, because we're going to have a hoot, and we're going to have 4 or 5 different core rule systems going at the same time that are all different to each other, and it's still going to be easier. How is that strange? I'll tell you what. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here because I'm supposed to be opening up a Zoom chat for people so that we can get set up. So I will see you in about half an hour, and I will promise you, I will probably throw sardines or something. Something weird is going to happen today. I will do my best to fuck with things. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And come and join us and keep rolling those 20s or whatever.